I appear to be online. I'm now online. That's good. So we can get rid of this window now. And for those of you who are wondering what happened to the pre-show, the short answer is this did. So basically, my big powerful desktop with the quad-core processor and all that crashed. So I got a lovely blue screen of death there, which I haven't seen in quite some time, I have to admit. But you just get, blue screening, recycling, blue screening, recycling, blue screening. So yeah, that was fun. But anyway, that's what the pre-show is there for. So when I turn on the device and it fails, I've got another hour to sort things out. So that worked out quite well. So that pre-show is definitely going to be a regular thing. But next time, hopefully, it will go with less problems. Now, unfortunately, I'm using the Google Hangout software, which is, excuse me. The stream just caught up with me and started transmitting, so that confused me. Anyway, so yeah, what was I saying? Show's broadcasting. So anyway, my system failed, and that's what the pre-show is for. Next time, with a bit of luck, you might actually get a pre-show. If not, so be it. That's what it's there for. So what we're going to be discussing today is RPGs. Now, when I say RPGs, I really think about things like Legend of Zelda, and not the big 3D ones either, sort of the old 2D original 3D Zelda 2D Zelda games. So it's really that sort of early NES style game that I'm really looking to develop here. Now, having said that, just because it's been developed as 2D, that doesn't mean it cannot be upgraded to 3D earlier. A lot of these techniques will sort of swap over. But there is a fantastic tool called Tiled, which is here. So this is Tiled. It's cross-platform compatible for the Mac and for Windows as well. It also runs on Linux. So basically, whatever you're running, this will run on it, which is great for an open platform, AGK, which of course, AGK version 2 now is on both Mac and PC. So we're just going to create a new one. So basically, what you need to do when you're creating a new map, and what we're going to be doing basically is setting up AGK in such a way that it will phrase this file or look at the file XML, take the data it needs out of it, and then do something with it. So we just had another try to join the room. That's good. Now, you need to make sure it's right down. The layer format is XML. You do have compressed formats as well, so this is a bit larger, but it's also easier for the system to read. Tile width is going to be 64 by 64, and you've got 100 by 100 tiles there. Now, this doesn't come with tiles preset. You need to go off and find your own tiles, which brings me to the other thing I found, which is in my notes. Okay, so I need to bring it up on my notes. So there's the link. So, I did have it open. I tell a lie. Anyway, I found this great one. This is a great quality set of assets, basically. You get all these tiles, you get water, grass, mud, all the kind of stuff. And it's quite nice and basic. You get trees and enough to make buildings. And it's enough to get you started, basically. And best of all, it's public domain, which means it's free. There's no copyright issues involved with it. The author has given you permission to go off and use it. You don't even have to give credit to the original developer, though, of course, that would be nice. But it does produce some quite nice looking tiles. Now they're all quite high quality, 64 by 64, and more importantly, what he's actually done is really organized the files very well. So if I minimize all this, and we go into one of my folders here, the Kenny RPG pack is where it is, and what we've basically got here is everything you need. So you've got the original vector stuff he used. So if you want to edit the SVG or even SWF, you can do so. You've got the sprite sheet, so you can just load it as one big sprite sheet or one little sprite sheet there. And you also have everything separated into individual files. So if you want to load all of these up individually, you can do, and he's already prepared that for you. So that is a lot of work taken out of your hand. Now I will check this is actually Creative Commons 0. So yes, it is public domain. So I just sort of check that before making sure. I mean, it did say on the graphic, but you never know until you actually look in there and check the license. So that's a very nice pack of doodahs you can get. The link is, which one is it now? See, I keep losing that one. Is it in? So it's loading up on this, is it? It's because it's open on Firefox. I'm using the wrong browser. There we go. So yeah, the link there, I'll put that nice and big on the screen so you can actually see it all properly for a moment. Because I don't know what resolution this is going out. This is very much on. So there's the stuff. I'll just leave that up there for 60 seconds. You can, of course, pause the video and just view it if you like. But this is also a very good website to go to if you want to find things like character sprites. Basically, any RPG stuff is great for. Not only that, but also platforms, shooters, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of great assets there. Be careful of the licensing, however, because each one has its own individual license. Some are Creative Commons, some are public domain, some are something else. Some are even, closed or commercial, or you have to pay for it, basically. So well, I think that's the case anyway. I'd say I'm hesitating there because I haven't researched it thoroughly. But my point is, make sure you check the license before you use anything on there. That way, you won't hit any problems. So licensing, especially if you want to produce your games. If you're just doing something for project work, you're just experimenting, learning the language, then this is just a great way of getting some stock stuff in there where you don't really have to worry about license because you're not publishing anyway. But it's a great way of getting something in there to help you learn. So there, I think that link's been up long enough now. So I think the first thing we really need to discuss is what is an RPG. Whenever you go into any kind of project and you're just setting out developing it, you really need to sort of nail down what you need to cover. So before I just say it's an RPG and everyone sort of runs off going, oh, it's like Mass Effect, oh, it's like Zelda, oh, it's like Skyrim, those are very advanced, well-known RPGs, but I'm really talking about the old NES style RPGs. So very much top-down, not isometric. You actually have the ability in tiles to set up an isometric map as well. So if you did want to go sort of the Diablo 2 style thing, then that is an option as well. Now we're working very much with mobile platforms, so I tend to go towards 2D. Now, of course, 3D is an option with AGK version 2. Not all the commands are implemented yet, but they're being developed and they are being added one by one. But I know 2D works and I've practiced 2D. So, but we won't be getting into 2D today. What we really be worrying about is file handling, how to get the data from this application, which was never designed to work with AGK originally. Is designed to work with other RPG platforms, and into actually AGK itself using the XML format. But the first thing we need to do is actually make a map, which would be nice. I did say I was going to discuss what an RPG is afterwards, but I'll show you this tool first. I really should bullet point all this so I go through in some kind of order next time. So, right, I need to open up Finder. And in fact, we need to get the stuff in there. So I've already created the project folder here. So I'm just going to quickly compile this. Failed to compile project must contain major HC folder. Okay. Oh, it's probably because I put a space in, is it? Yeah. I'll recreate this. I did in a bit of a rush earlier, so close project, file, and new project. And we'll just go into AGK show and open. And this time I'll just give it all one word. Loading DMX. Create. Now, with a bit of luck. This is what you get for doing a live broadcast, isn't it? Failed to compile project. Must contain an AGC file in the main project directory. Okay, maybe he doesn't like subdirectories. So I'm now doing live troubleshooting, which is fun. Sorry, I'm covering up the chat room there. There we go. So we get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we'll try this again, shall we? So this time we'll just go loading TMX from tiles and try that. That's working fine. Okay, so I mean, remember, AGK, which I'm using, version 2, is still very much in alpha, so you will hit these minor problems. But if you hit that problem, just do it under the main project folder and you'll be fine. Also, make sure there's no spacing, though I think that was fixed in 7.1. But I'm just really being safe there because I don't want to do any massive troubleshooting experimenting. So loading TMX from tiles. So as you can see, that's all there. I've got my media now. So what I can do is I can drop in the files, close and reopen the project. That might work, except I created another one. So of course you have probably haven't caught up in the screen yet, have you? So we'll dump that in there. We'll just keep the folder as is, so it's all there, ready to use, organized by name. Just check it was there. So I mean, yeah, you got the preview. And oh yeah, I should show you a sample really. And this is basically what it looks like. So you know, it's quite a nice vectorish, modern-looking RPG format, and great for sort of top-down RPGs, which I'm planning to develop. So bring AGK back up. Okay. So if you close and reopen the project, apparently that fixes the missing main.agc problem. So if we try that. So get rid of this, and we'll open up the other project under the subfolder. We'll see if the advice in the chat room does help. So AGK show and that one, and compile. Okay, so that's working now. Okay. So apparently you just have to close it, reload it, as he says there. So thanks for that. So we can go back to using our own one now. So I've got to repopulate that one now. Right, so AGK show. Right, so if you do keep it under the proper folder structure, I won't get lost later on, which is good. And I can just copy over the Kenny stuff again. Of course, I need to duplicate it, don't I? And bring it over because I copied it over properly. I moved it. I did copy it, did I? Excuse me, doing all this real time. So media, and this time copy. Won't hurt to have it in multiple locations. AGK show, and dump it in there. So now we've maintained that folder structure. Now the reason I copied this over first in a very long-winded way is so I can go to the sprite sheet here, and this is what I'm going to be working off. Basically, I am going to go back into tiled, and right, what you basically need to do here, and this is an entire art program that you can do everything you like, layers and everything. I'll show you all that in a moment there. So basically, if we go to here and we drag it over into tile sets, it gives you some options here. Now I need to check that I've got the right information on this. Why isn't it right clicking? Okay. Try that again. Don't know why that would affect the Mac window, but never mind. So I'm just checking the resolution. So that's that by that. So that should be I think that's 64 by 64, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. I think that's 64 by 64. So anyway, I will drag that in there, and it's as easy as that. So give it the tile width, give it the margin. It's PNG, so there's transparency already, and just click on OK. and then you get a populated area. Excuse me, my phone's just going off. Oh dear, someone's data is going wrong. I'll turn my phone off for now. I'll apologize later. So yeah, as you can see, it's all correctly selected, so it's all divided up properly. So it was 64 by 64. It's either that 128 by 128 because I'm working with the times 2 is 128. That's right, and the little one is 64. That's why I was pausing earlier. But as you can see, it's basically divided everything up, and what you basically do is I'll juggle all this around. We don't need this for the moment, do we? Drag myself down there. You don't need to see me for a moment. Right. So if we click here, now you'll notice that it's quite a nice snappy system. So it's all grid based, and all you do is you pick the piece you want, and then put it down there. So if I want to put, a basic piece of land, I can just work it around the edges like this, and I can zoom out, and I can just go wee all the way down. Oh, apparently I can select whole rows as well by right-clicking. So what do? Do I just drag down there? Okay, that's good. So if you hold down the right-hand mouse button over a shape, it'll actually select them for you. So if I just get the bottom one here, and then I go like this, and then I run back over it with the other mouse, and then I can just do it that way. That's neat. Now, I don't think I've gone all the way down, actually. So we've very much got an island there. Let's just make that an island, shall we? So we do this, and then we just go all the way up to the top. And as you can see, it's very, very easy to use. Even if you've got terrible mouse control skills like I have. Now, I've probably grabbed that corner as well there, which is something I shouldn't have done. Okay. And of course, we've got the eraser tool, so we can get rid of the superfluous stuff, or superfluous, or whatever. Now, if I'm going to do it this way, what I really should have done first is lay down the water. And we can just go like that, drag over, and just do that. Okay. That's a lot faster then. And then if we click on the middle and just click on fill, we can just fill up that whole area. And while I'm doing that, I can also go down and grab some water. Now you can zoom out on this. And we can just fill up everything else with some nice water effects. And so I'm still on fill, that's why. And you can also select other areas like that. So you've got a nice selection of tools there. Anyway, so that's our basic map. Very, very basic. It's just water and a bit of green land. But, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of information there. And this will do for now. Now, what we can also do is add another layer. So if we go over here and add another tile layer, and we can rename these. So this will be ground layer. And this can be plant life. Okay, so get rid of that one. Now, if we just right, so we've got plenty of trees and bushes and things. So if I zoom in a bit there so I can see it a bit more clearly. So as you see, we've got some trees and bushes. Now, I'm being very fast. I don't want to do a particularly good job of this. I probably do a lot of what I need to do off screen, you see what I mean? Now, if I remember correctly, if you hold down the function key on the Mac, sorry, the option key or command key or whatever you call it, you can select these bushes here, and then, as you can see, you've got these selections. But if I hit this dice, as you can see, that allows me to automatically paint lots of different trees or plants and things very quickly without having to individually select things. So I can put on quite a complex layer of plant life and things. And now obviously you want to match it up better than I am. Sort of get a bunch of green ones and a bunch of blue ones together or something. Or you can just keep moving over until you get what you think looks right, basically. So anyway, you know, it's looking pretty much, it's looking much closer to an RPG. And it's just that easy to sort of paint these things on. It can be very quick, or you can take your time and do a lot of great details and things. But it's simple enough to pick up straight away. Oh, I'm still down here, aren't I? So it's simple enough to pick up straight away and powerful enough to be extremely useful. So now we're actually going to save out the file and have a look at it. So if we go File and Save As, and we're just going to use the basic file format, which is TMX. And I'm going to locate AGK projects. Going to go into Live Show and Media. And we're just going to call it Map. And then save. And we'll have a look at how this file is actually organized. Now, which one am I in here? Because I did, right, so I'm in the right one, aren't I? Map, there we go. Map.tmx. Now, if I right click and what I actually want to do is open this up in Bluefish, which is a HTML editor, but it also does XML. What I code most of my websites in these days. You going to come out with Bluefish? Apparently not. Try quitting it again. Guaranteed. Nothing works when I want it to. When I'm demonstrating anything, doesn't matter if it's in real life or on webcam, you can guarantee there's going to be problems. So, oh well. Open. And AGK projects. All files, come on. There we go. So you can rename it XML and you'll avoid that problem. It doesn't really matter what the extension is. But as you can see, what we have here is a very simple, well, not very simple, but it's easy to follow. It's basically, I need to increase the view because you probably can't see it that well. Where's the... Windows Notepad++ is great as well, yeah. In fact, I tend to do most of my website coding on Notepad++ when I'm on the Windows environment. Though I do use Bluefish there as well. Anyway, sorry, I'm not entirely sure how to increase the size of this. Show find bar? No. So anyway, this is the normal resolution I see it at. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Hopefully you can. But basically, you've got an XML declaration. Not really very interested in that, but there's some useful data here. So we've got width, which is the width of the map in tiles. We've got height of the map. We've also got tile width and tile height. Now, if we preserve this information, it means we can literally just load it directly out of the TMX file. And if we create different maps with different sizes and things, this is all information we just pull out of the XML and just code our AGK in such a way that it will just load any map. It also gives you the write down orientation, render order and the orientation here. So yeah, it also gives you some fairly meaningless information. It's repeated 64 by 64. Oh, good, it looks fine. Good. So we've got image source as well. Now this is useful because it's already got that pack address. So the Kenny pack sprite sheet and RPG pack address. So it's that we can just load out of the data, which means no matter what tile sheet you're looking for, as long as you're maintaining the original folder structure, which we are because we're loading it directly from AGK, it maintains it as well. And we've also got width and height of the map, which we don't actually need, but it's there if you do need that kind of information at any point. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of useful information. Then the data is just organized very, very easily. So we get a layer. It gives you the name of the layer. It gives you the width of the layer and the height of the layer. Then it just gives you all the data, and then we just a matter of tile tags and grid equals, and it just gives you a value. And if I'm correct, and I've got to check this actually, I may need to do some compensation later. But yeah, 0, 0 is there. So if we go all the way up to the top, 1. Okay, so we'd have to offset the tiles by 1, but the numbering pattern pretty much follows what you'd expect. Yeah, that looks about right to me. So you should just be able to load up all of these numbers, offset it by 1, and just import the tiles directly. And it should be that simple. Or you can just load it up as a sprite sheet and have AGK automatically organize it for you. So I think it only does up to 128. And there's 228 there. So I think it's 128. Well, I'll worry about that bit later. But yeah, basically it means that my brain's gone. But basically it means you can maintain the numbering system here very easily and bring it into AGK. And if you scroll down to about 10,000 lines, because it's 100 by 100, so that should be about 10,000. We scroll down to 10,000. As you can see, we then have the first layer is ended, and we have the second layer. And you can just keep adding layers upon layers upon layers, which means you can have collision layers, you can have special event layers, you can just create all sorts of things using tiles, using their layering system. And the other thing I should point out with tiles is you also have the abilities to visually turn things on and off. So if you want to create an impact layer and put it under things, you can do that. If you want to add just special zone layers where you're just loading up all the data there, so sort of land on that square, special event happens, you can do that. You just have all that great stuff. You could even have a no-go layer, so we could simply have a system where black tiles are things you can tread on, blue tiles are things you can't. And because we're going to be bringing it in as raw data into arrays, we're not actually processing images. We're creating it as an image pretty much in tiles, but we're still processing it as data, so it should be a relatively efficient way of doing it. And you can just build up on all that. And it also means that you're no longer sort of sitting there manually coding stuff. You've just got to have a system where it detects what tile it's on, and then go, this happens when this tile number is sat upon at this layer. You could even do something like having a pool of lava, where the further into the center you go, the higher the damage level, the further away, the lower the damage level. You can do that simply by having a damage layer, where it's taking away certain amounts of health as you go further deeper into it, and you can customize it. So if you want to put a rock in the middle of it for some reason, as a safe zone, you can do that. So if you want to create a quest where you have to cross a pool of lava, and there's only, you just have to have a certain amount of health to do it, that's something you can do. So yeah, it opens up a lot of possibilities, and it's a tool we don't have to code. This is a great thing. When I've done RPGs before, whenever I've needed something like that, I've had to go into AGK and code my own editor, and it's time consuming and long, and this is all there. So the question is now, how do we get this data into AGK? And that's basically what all this lesson is going to be now, is looking at this data, bringing it into the program. I'm not sure how long I've been transmitting for, but yeah, but we'll start getting into the AGK code now. So we'll return to AGK, and I will get my notes for this. Okay. Excuse me, my throat's going dry. So yeah. So yeah, I'll focus on just getting the data into AGK at this point. I probably won't focus on all the tile data at this point. Really, I want to discuss how to go about looking at an XML file, bringing that data in, and making AGK do all the work. So we just have that facility in future to go to tiles, make a map, drop it in, have AGK do everything else. And it means, of course, you don't just have to use it for RPGs. 30 mins, thanks. You don't have to do it for RPGs only. You can also do it for side-scrolling shooters and all that kind of stuff. Thanks. Yeah. So we'll open up our file here. And I'll just leave the resolution because we're just going to be dealing with data at this point. We're not going to be worrying about visual presentation or anything like that. And there are several pieces of data we need to think about when loading in a map. We need to consider the width of the map, that's how many tiles across, the height of the map, how many tiles down, the number of layers on the map, so you can have all those extra special features piled on top. You also need to think about the resolution of each tile. So if you want to use the, if you want to use the automatic tile selection thing that AGK allows you to do, you can do that by knowing the height and width. And of course, you need to know which sprite sheet you're working with. And load that in as well. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be using a sprite sheet, but I'm going to throw that data in anyway. It's just a layer I can remove if I want to. So if I go now, because we're going to be loading data, but I still want to represent the data on screen occasionally. Yeah, this is version 2.7.1. There's probably an update since then. I haven't actually checked to see if there's an update this morning. Yeah, 7.12 alpha. Yeah. Now, because right, that's what I was thinking. Because we're gonna be loading up a lot of data and probably doing a lot of loops. What we need to do is maximize the speed of the program. So if you want to display text, we won't be slowed down to 60 frames a second because we're going to be crunching a lot of data in the long run. And this is very much for sort of early troubleshooting process. We may need to sort of display what data is being displayed, whatever. It'll make sense as I go along. So, right. Let's go type, and we're just going to call this TMX. And end type, and I need to do width, height, layers. What was the other thing I said? X-res, Y-res. Actually, no, I generally do it the other way around, res X, just to maintain my own internal system. Otherwise, I'll be reverting back to the old system of doing it and getting confused. And sprite sheet and string. Now, you can actually just leave it like that because it will detect them as integers, but I generally do this anyway to make sure. I would to make sure that anyone who comes along and reads my code, because I may not be the one who's working on it eventually, maybe someone else, especially as I'm teaching this. But making sure that everyone knows it's an integer is fine. But yeah, if you want to be lazy, you can also do it like that as well. So what else will we need? We'll also need an array. So the array will need sprites and cell data will be the two minimum things. So it's going to be type map, just call it map, end type. And we're just going to go sprite as integer and data as integer. And that should be that then. Then we just globalize map. So it reaches into our functions as TMX. We've got all that lovely point data we can use. Now, well, we're going to be loading the map before the main loop. So we're just going to call it load TMX. I'm going to give it the file name map.tmx. And that will basically be a function name. Then we just move on to our function. We'll make a function so we can port it along. So that's going to be function load tmx. I'm just going to go files. I always think of the string on that as files, but no, I want file. It's only a singular file, isn't it? And function. Not that it makes any difference because we maintain that consistency, but you need to maintain that way of thinking, don't you? So first of all, we need to open the file. So file equals open to read. And I do like the way the commands come up. It does make things so much quicker. Files. Yeah, I'm thinking of it as files now, not file with a dollar sign. I do have some bullet points in front of me. That's what I'm going through now, just to remind myself what I'm doing. So we've made the function. We need to open up the file, obviously. Begin by setting up file data. There's some right. So yeah. So there's some question. As we bring up, you should date the integer as data as an integer. So I don't understand the question. Wait for the stream to catch up. I've lost my train of thought now. I'm going to have to get used to that, reading the chat room and concentrating on what I'm doing. So yeah, read line, write line. Yeah, so we just need to read the line of the file, don't we? So yes, there are some questions we need to answer. First of all, what is the height of the map? Then we need to ask the question, what is the width of the map? Then we need to ask how many layers there are. We need to ask what the sprite sheet name is. We then need to ask the question, what's the height of the sprite and the width of the sprite? And this is all data which, remember earlier, is present in the XML file. And that most of that is present within the first line. So we've got the height there, width there, then we've got tile width and tile height. Then we have the sprite sheet location. And now the only thing it doesn't have is tiles. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is counting the number of slash datas. So if you notice, it's always surrounded by data. And if we go down to 10,000, 10,000, what we're talking about? Yeah, no, it's 10,000. So I get myself confused there. Scroll up. There we go. So we've got data slash data, and then we start with the new data. And that's basically what I'm going to be using. Now, I could use layer, and I could also use slash layer. But everything after this point is just data, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. Should data the type? Oh yes, data. Thank you. That would have tripped me up later. Right. Yeah. So it should be data, not date. So yes. Right. That was a mistake. So yes, once we've got that done, now the other thing we need to look at. So again, I'm going to keep bringing this up because we really do need to understand exactly how to phrase the information we need. So it's going to be with this line we don't need. So we can basically discount that simply by going read line, and we just go file, and we don't need to assign it to anything. We just need to read that line. It doesn't exist anymore. We're moving on. Now the next line is of more interest to us. This is where we're going to actually assign it to a string. So it's going to be temp string equals read line file. That's right. Put the spacing around there to keep it looking neat. So that then brings in the second line of that file. I can actually probably resize this because they're quite narrow commands. And I can bring this up. Oh, wrong one. That's another project. Why am I loading up all the random windows? I want Bluefish. Less haste. So yeah, this is the second line we're loading up now. That's where we got 4 pieces of information we're going to bring into it. Now what you also have to remember is if you change this word and right down to left down or something, then you're going to be changing the overall length. So we can't just do a simple it begins at that point and then assume it, and then it begins at that point and assume it. If there's any situation where this bit and this bit changes, we want it not to load characters instead of numbers, for example. So we're going to be a bit smarter in our logic, I think, and we're going to compensate for that by having it sort of actually analyze the data rather than just assume there's a fixed position it needs to load from. You can do it that way. It will be simpler logic, but I'm really planning for the future when there's going to be other types of maps, other situations where I might need to use this code. And pushing the work in now will save me work later on, hopefully. So I need to work this out in my head now. So we need to go this line. So yeah, so we've loaded our data. So that's what we're working with here. So now what we need to do is select the data from it. And I would begin by asking the question, because what we're basically going to be doing is looking for double quotes. Now, double quotes will mark the beginning and the end of data. So we need to go find the first double quote, extract the data. Upon finding the next double quote, that's where you end it. And that data will then be stored into whatever element we want to store it into. So that will be the first question to my mind. Now, hopefully I don't mess all this up because this can get quite complicated. So if I go if mid mod, so mid will allow us to select a particular character from a string at a particular position. Commands, don't you need? Don't think so. Because don't I need $1 after the file? Don't think so. Because basically we've got file here. Read line. No, because file is being assigned there. So that's the integer storing the ID of that open to read. Then that's the file name. Then we go read line file temp equals read line file. No, that's correct. I think I'm right. Well, we can just quickly compile, see if it works. No errors, so that should be fine. Okay, so if mid equals, and then we need to go temp, and that wasn't what you're referring to, was it? I don't know. I've lost it. So I. What am I doing? I need to create a loop here, don't I? I'm being very silly. Okay, that's right then. A little bit nervous because earlier I didn't understand what you were on about earlier with date, and it's like, oh yeah. So, but if you see my mistakes, keep them coming. It'll save me time later. Right, so I have brought in the data. Now I need to do a repeat. So if I do a repeat, and I'm basically going to go repeat until I wrote down some pseudo code earlier. Okay, so if I detect it to the last tag, that should work. It will make sense once I've done it, I expect. Until mid. Temp string I and 1 equals this symbol. Now this will basically detect that we've come to the end of the tag. So anytime we hit this, we've basically hit the end of the tag. So if we go over here, you'll notice that it's all on one line, but it ends in that tag there. So that's how we know that we've come to the end of the line. So what I'm basically doing is saying, I'll bring it back up again, sorry. What I'm basically doing is saying, right, let's loop from the beginning. We'll start at the beginning. We'll count in increments going through all the line of code here. Now you could do that as well, but I think I'll do the symbol check in this case. Simply because it's the way I usually do things, so I'll get a little bit less confused. But yeah, that's another option you can do, is just check the length of the string, but that involves getting the length of the string as well. And this way I can simply go until you hit the symbol, and I think that's a little bit easier. I don't know if it's faster or not. That would be another question. But we will be counting it. So but basically, we'll do it for this way for now, and we can have a look at the code and send in suggestions later. So that would bring me here. So yeah, so the first thing we've got to do, now you notice you've got an I there. That's basically marking the place that we're going to be extracting the string symbol from, or the character from. And of course we need to go I equals I add 1. You can also use the int command, but I'm just used to doing it that way. From the start to second position, it's always first. Second person. That's an option as well. We can optimize this code, but at the moment I'm just going to make the logic work. Because what we can do is we can also work out what is a minimum point we have to start from. At the moment, we're really much scanning from the very beginning of the line all the way through. That leaves a lot of wasted effort, which the room is pointing out. And we can't optimize it later by saying go in 10 characters, go in 15 characters, go in a minimum number of characters, and then start scanning through as well. We are making the computer do a lot of work. Because I'm running on the desktop here, and even on the phone, it shouldn't actually cause that much of a slowdown, if any. It should just sort of go like that. So I'm being quite lazy in this, but because I'm working out the logic as I go along, I'm trying to make things as easy on myself as possible by not really thinking about optimization and thinking more about just making the damn thing work and then going back and optimizing it. So if I go... So we're scanning through now. Through this loop, we are now scanning through 1 unit at a time, starting at 0. Could start higher if we want, Not going to in this case. I'll worry about that in a bit. So once I've done that, I then need to start asking the question, where has it encountered the first double quote? And we'll do that with if mid temp display out of focus. Not sure why that would be. So something going wrong with the stream, is there? I and 1, because we're only going 1 character long, equals char. Is it 36 for double quote? I think it's 36. Oh, it's 34, isn't it? 34. I'm pretty sure it's 34. And then we want to do an end if. Oh, okay. It might be your bandwidth for some reason. Until end if. Yeah. So always end the if statement with end if. That way I won't lose the endpoint, and we'll start coding from here then. Repeat I equals I add 1. Okay, that makes sense to me. Then we're scanning through 1 unit at a time until we hit the first double quote. Then we're going to do another repeat. I do have a bad habit of using far too many loops, I have to admit. 22. No, I'm pretty sure it's 34 for double quote. Of course, you want to look out for me quickly, that'll be helpful. And we're now going into site. Right, so yes, I do need to do another loop there, don't I? Now I need to end it upon logic isn't my forte, I have to admit. I do struggle with these things sometimes. Right, we did the if statement. Then we go to another repeat. Oh, right. So if I do is, yeah, so if I extract something, because so it's going to be repeat until we hit double quote again. I don't know why I'm getting confused about that one. Okay, so it's going to be repeat until temp. I'll just call it temp2 earlier, and I'll create this in a moment. Until temp2. Yeah, it's character 34, I think. Equals char 34. Okay, that's all right then. Oh, it's hex code. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we're using the ASCII table, I'm afraid. Or is it scan code? Well, whatever AGK uses. Okay, good. So there you go. If anyone else has any issues, I don't know how many people are actually watching this stream, but if anyone else has any issues, you get sort of out of focus pixie stuff, try doing a refresh. Get rid of these, can't I? Right, so we're on to repeat until temp2 equals double quote. So we've detected the first double quote. That's where we start the proceeding. Then we create a loop that will scan through the remaining characters, because we don't know it's going to be 1 number, 10 numbers, might be a 10,000 pixel map for all we know. So I'm just going to allow it to go through until it finds the next double quote. In the meantime, the repeat will be going I equals I add 1, because we've found the first double quote. Now we need to move immediately on to the next character. So we're just going to add 1 there. Then we need to go temp2 string equals, and again, we're going to be extracting the data. That's going to be, temp string, then it's going to be I, comma 1. So we'll assign that there. It's a bit wider now. Yeah, that should work. And that's right. So we now need to ask the question, is it anything but a quote? 0 viewers. I guess you're... Google isn't updating, is it? Well, in that case, I may never know how many people are watching this stream, because apparently it's 0. Oh dear. So you get what you pay for, don't you? So yeah. So if temp2 is less than or greater than char 34, then we're basically saying it's definitely a number because it's not that character. And then we can just go end if. Always end my end ifs, otherwise I'll get confused. We're going to go right. So we're going to create a new value here because we have extracted a single character. We've located the first double quote. We're onto the number now. We are cycling through one at a time. So we need something to store those numbers or reassemble them. So basically glue them together. So I'll just create glue equals glue string add tmp2 string. And that will act as our store then. And it's just assembling the number one character at a time, which we can then convert into a val, sort of value using the val command. Yeah, I think that's all I need to do then. And end if. And because we're working in a loop, what we also need to do is ask how many values we've already got. All watching via the TGC site, probably. It's probably not including the embedded links. It's either that or I'm imagining you all. This is all a figment of my warped imagination. So glue equals glue. That should work. I'll just quickly compile it. Good. No errors. And of course, save. Which you already did when you click compile, but never mind. But the point is it didn't get stuck in a loop. So it's obviously found the final this symbol here. It's exited that loop. It's also exited that loop correctly, so it's obviously found that as well. So that's actually quite good. Now, whether or not the data comes back a symbol correctly is another matter. Actually, we'll probably test that very quickly. Sorry, just thinking. Right, we need to remember how many values we've actually obtained so far, because we're working with one string with multiple values. We need to mark that. So what we need to do is once it's hit that point, once it's find the second double quote, we then need to go value equals value add 1. So keep track of that. I think that's right. Then we can use a case statement to select the value. We could also use if statements, but I just like case statements because you don't go through all of them. Then it just goes value matches that and then performs this action. So we need to go select value and end select. And now how many values in is it? So we're just going to reference this. So we've got, first of all, we can ignore this number here. Don't care about version. We don't care about this first set of double quotes there. We don't care about this second set. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So the fourth number is the one we're going to be interested in. So we're just going to go case 4, end case. And what we can do then is go, that was the width, wasn't it? So it's width, height, tile width, tile height. Okay. So it's X, Y, X, Y. That's good. So that's going to be map dot. I just did this, and it was width, wasn't it? Whoops, daisy. Let's make sure I got that right. The map dot width. Yeah. Yes, X, Y, X, Y. Come on, Dan. Equals glue, I think. Yeah. Oh no, we need to convert it, don't we? So it's going to be value glue or val glue. Then just copy this and just go next, next, and next, and just go 5, 6, and 7, and I'll just go height. And what did I use? I didn't use tile width. I used res x, didn't I? Okay. Res x, res y. Okay. So we need to actually make sure that data is being extracted correctly now, don't we? So I'll need to go back to the main loop to do that aspect, just to keep updating it. Yeah. Okay. So it should have extracted the file stuff correctly, I think. Yeah. Yeah, because we're only working with one line here. That's why I keep thinking in terms of going down lines, but no, we're just doing one line. So we're just going left to right. So I don't need to worry about multiple lines. So that should be that 4 piece of data extracted then. So we just go print. Map dot width. And again, just save myself a little bit of work. Height. Res X and res Y. It hasn't got the data. Okay, so what have I done wrong? That's the question. This is where we start the troubleshooting phase. My logic's probably flawed. To be honest, I shouldn't be doing this live, really, because right. Repeat. File, read line, that's fine. Now, it's loading up the right file, isn't it? It is TMX, isn't it? Map.tmx, that's right. And that is the right one. That's loading TMX. Okay. Loading TMX, that's fine. Okay. Actually, I can get rid of that other one, can't I? Da, 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 da. Yeah, yes. Programming consists of hundreds of hours going, oh. Because there may be something fundamentally wrong with my pseudocode. This is always a danger. When you sit there and you're writing pseudocode, it makes perfect sense, but you don't actually have a compiler there to check that what you're writing is making sense. So just because it makes sense to me doesn't mean it makes sense to the computer. So, well, I've got the right values, and they've all got glue. So what I need to do now is, let's see if it's actually extracting any data, shall we? So begin with, first of all, this is a point where the data is being read. So let's check that's okay. So we just go print temp string, and we'll make sure that is actually being brought in. And then sync, and just do a sleep for 5 seconds will do. And run that. Okay, so that seems to, oh no. So all that did was not launch the program. That's interesting. Does it need to sync twice? I thought so, but try anyway. Okay. Okay, so that's not displaying the way I expected it to. That should work, shouldn't it? What am I doing wrong there? Right, temp equals right line. That's fine. So we're outside the main loop there. There's no other loop involved. I'm just going print temp. Whoops. And then we're going sync and sleep. I'll give it 2 seconds this time. Okay, was that a bit fast? So one minor problem, it appears behind the window. Give it 5 then. Come on, thank you. So, okay, let's try something else. This doesn't seem like it should work to me, but repeat sync until quick equals 500. That'll do. Quick equals quick add 1. Okay, that's better. So I don't know why that wasn't working. Anyway, but yeah, as you can see, the data is being brought up. That's good. So what we need to do now is see if, now we've got a repeat cycle here. So what I can do is see if 2 is being extracted correctly. So if I just go print temp to string, and just go sync, see what the data's like there. Okay, too fast. Maybe if I slow it down. It should only be 60. I just suppose it's quite a quick thing. So if I go set sync rate 1 and 0. Okay, so as you can see, it is going through the string. We can increase it a little bit, I think. It's a bit slow. Let's increase it to 10. Okay. Now, was that going all the way through? Or was it ending early for some reason? Oh, okay. Well, that's the way around it. I mean, it seems to be the print, sync, and sleep combination that's causing problems. I don't know if that's a minor bug with it. But yeah, I mean, just doing a repeat until loop seems to fix that without any problems. Oh. So we were very much going through character by character there. So what I really want to do now is go glue. Let's check what glue is coming back with. Okay. Should not be doing that. That's probably where I'm going wrong. So I need to reset glue, don't I? I also need to reset I, don't I? Yeah. Okay, so after the end select, or before the end select? No, because glue is being used there, so we can't do it before. So we need to go glue string equals glue string. No, just that. That's all I need to do is clear it off. Oh, that's good, actually. That demonstrates very nicely what we're doing. So it's literally going through, it's finding those key pieces of data. Now, why isn't it being assigned? Because it's definitely pulling out that data, isn't it? Okay. Hmm. It's got the 1.0. It's got the second value. Then it's got right. Okay. Then it's got 100, another 100, 64, 64, and then it's ending the loop. That's good. That's how it should be behaving. So that's good. So for some reason, glue isn't making it from there into here. Hmm. Probably going to see the next hour of me going. This is the exciting bit. This is right. Okay, let's go through the logic step by step. First of all, I need to begin with a repeat. Then I need to increase it by 1. Then I need a logic statement that asks where the character is. So that's all working fine. Then we need another loop. We need to increase that by 1 because we've already detected the double quote and we need to go on to the next character. Then we go into temp2 equals mid. We're extracting that correctly. temp I1. Yes, that's fine. Glue is out of scope. Maybe define it under the first repeat. Maybe. What logic? What other logic is there? Sorry. Then we're going. That's fine. I'm not dismissing you. I'm just thinking about, is the value variable correct? So value. Should be. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Disable that one. Print value sync. Well, that's going very high, isn't it? That's interesting. So what does that top out at? Because it does eventually go onto the main program loop, doesn't it? Do I have value in the right place? Should be. See, that should be topping out at 7. Yeah, it's going way beyond, isn't it? I may be ending this episode with a big fat I don't know. So basically what's happening now is it's not selecting, this value isn't being generated correctly. It's not triggering the right case. Because it's coming in so early, it's obviously not triggering the glue properly. So it is scanning through though, isn't it? So repeat I, mid, repeat I, temp, if temp, glue, end if, then until. Yep. Try moving the value to equals value add 1. Up one line before the end if. Don't think so. Might be. No, my logic structure, it definitely appears afterwards. Of course, my logic might be wrong. Do I have that end if in the right place? So if mid temp 1, 1. Okay. I think I might have that end if in the wrong place. Let's try that. Ah, that's what I did wrong. Right, you were correct in a way, but I simply terminated that if statement way too soon. Okay. Oh, Gordon Bennett, I'm knackered now. Oh God. Right. That's where I went wrong. Okay. So I'll just check this again. That's good. So it's pulled that data out there. Now we can do a little bit of optimization, can we? Now if I go, oops, wrong one. That's old code. Sorry. About 80 lines. It's taking me this long to do 80 lines. It's not good, is it? Right. So we've got that basic data in there. Now, what else do we need? We took out 4 values, didn't we? So we smiley faces all around. I think I'll just deal with grabbing the header data this week because time is starting to get on a bit now. And then we'll worry about pulling out the main data next week. But I want to get the basic header data at least into the program before ending this. So we've got 4 pieces of data. We have that, and now we need layers and we need sprite sheet. Now layers is quite an important one, especially if you want to do, what I discussed earlier with sort of impact maps and stuff. Now the logic should pretty much be the same. We just need to go down an extra line or two, don't we? So we've done that one. That one is now safely done. I don't know why I'm doing that. That one. I don't know what I'm getting my remarks confused now, because the other ones used quite a lot in other languages. So what we're basically doing there is extract width, height, res x and res y. So I know what I've done. Sorry. Right, so now we need to go on to the next section, which is going to be bringing in the other two pieces of data. Now, the logic should largely be the same. So first of all, we've done that tag. Now we need to go on to the next tag. So after that one, we have this second one done. We don't need this one, do we? That's pretty useless. Eureka moment, yes. First, pack sheet, tile width 4. Don't need that one. This is the next line I'm interested in. So that's going to be number 4. So that was number 2. We also need to reset I to 0, don't we? Because otherwise we're going to be counting on indefinitely. So, yeah, you got some more in. Reset I to 0. Yeah, I do need to do that, don't I? So after that should go I equals 0. That ensures that the i's we generated in this section won't interfere with the next, and it also allows us to reuse that identifier. So we're just going to read line file, and again this is just so we can abandon that particular line, and then we just go temp in and out equals sorry. Sometimes I find a deep breath kicks the brain cells in. Right, so yeah, that's read line, isn't it? I don't know why I'm pausing on that one. Read line file. So we're just getting the basic data into the program there. My notes here are terrible. I really do need to tidy these up before I go into production. So we do another repeat. Repeat until temp. But again, it's going to be the same as before. So repeat until temp 2. Repeat until temp 2 equals, again, we're looking for quotation marks. So character 34. Yeah, so then we just need to go I equals I add 1 and temp 2. That's right, because we're working out where the first one is. So this is another way of doing it, I think. Temp 2 equals mid temp string I and 1. I was going to optimize the previous one, but I completely forgot about it, didn't I? Oh, well, do that another time. All right, so actually we need to go until. Yeah, repeat doesn't work very well if you don't add until. So basically that's just going from, again, first of the line, scanning across until we hit that first mark. And then we're just going to go, same logic again, I think, repeat. I equals I add 1, because we found the quotation mark. Now we're going on to the next number. Or in this case, it's not numbers, it's going to be string, isn't it? Okay. I'll have a proper look at that one. I'll carry on with my logic for now, which is probably not very good. I'll read that one properly in a moment. So repeat. Something just buzzed on my desk. Okay. Sorry, very, very old reminder. Where was I? So I want to look at that one again, actually, now. One string, C string, value string. Okay. Yeah, that's another good way of doing it. Let's try coding that one myself later. ABC. Yeah, that would extract kinds of characters, wouldn't it? Okay. Sorry, cat's scratching at the door. And the worst thing is not even mine. Right, so print. What am I saying print? I equals I add 1. Yep, that's right. So then we need to extract the value. So it's going to be temp2 string equals mid temp I, comma 1. Whoops, full stops. Until temp2 string. Again, we're scanning for the character. String equals. Sorry. Right. Repeat. Repeat. Second repeat. So we did the first repeat. Now we need to do the second repeat. Until glue equals. What am I doing? What am I doing? This is very basic. Why am I struggling with this? Character equals 34. Sorry. Right. So character equals 34. First repeat, second repeat. Now we need to do a core of logic. So this is where the if statement comes in. So if temp2 string is less than or greater than char 34, and then glue string equals glue string add temp2 string and end if. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, then it's just map sprite sheet equals glue, isn't it? Equals glue. And we reset glue. Almost typed in reset glue then. Literally copying out my pseudocode is not going to help. Glue string equals. Okay. When you see it compressed like that for one line, it's actually quite a bit shorter than up here, isn't it? I think it's because we got this extra case statement in there. Print map sprite sheet. Although I don't do much file analysis. Ah, it's working. Yay. Okay. We're getting there. Right. Now, what was the other one? I'll do one more, I think. And then I'll call it a day and carry on next week. Close file, map, height. That's fine. Temp. Yeah, so that all works now. And in that one, so otherwise all this logic is going to bleed into one in my head. There we go. Close file, end file. Yeah. So it's just another of the same then, isn't it? Is there any more data I need to bring in? Or am I being mad? We had sprite sheets, layers, of course. Right, this is where the code needs to get a bit different. Okay. I'll worry about the aesthetics later. So basically, we're just going to read one line at a time, aren't we? So we're going to go repeat. Then we're going to go until the end of the file now. How do you do the end of file? It might be my end, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to have to just live with these problems though, because I don't have a lot of money for a studio and professional broadcasting equipment, I'm afraid. So repeat. What was I doing? Okay, that's the thing, isn't it? It streams fine for some people, which means my upload is probably fine. It's just local internet traffic, or maybe a slowdown, or just something in between. Who knows? It's just one of those annoying things, isn't it? Repeat until temp equals. Oh, right, I haven't done the until. Repeat until nothing. That's going to be good. Repeat until end of file command. That is file. Is it file EOF? Yes, it is. Okay, that's all right then. File EOF file. Might not be you. It might just be the next door's bit torrenting. Or it might depend where you are in the world. I mean, I'm transmitting from the UK. I don't know where you are. Repeat. Yeah, so I'm just going to read the line, aren't I? So temp Yeah, we're just going to go through each line, and all I'm going to do is count the end layers. That makes sense. Yeah. So temp equals read line file, and then we're going to go an equal sign in there. So temp. Then we need to discuss whether or not it is. Okay, so now are there spaces before layer? Yeah, I better check. Oh, way. Okay, interesting. There's an international community going on here. Right, so make sure I get all the line spaces, otherwise it's not going to be a perfect match, is it? And I don't want to do another scan through, I just want to be a bit lazy with this one. So temp equals... Yeah, so if temp equals that, then map dot layers equals map dot layers, add 1. Map dot layers, what a map dot layers, add 1. Then end if. Is there anything else I need to do for that, really? Is there? We're just counting the number we counter in the file, and then it's just going to hit the end of the file, and that's it. Oh, we need to close the file then, don't we? Do we close the file earlier? So we open the file there, then we need to close it. Okay. Don't need this file anymore. In fact, what we'll be doing by closing the file now and then reopening it in a few moments. It's basically a cheap way of resetting the read lines, and we can just start through and start pulling out data then. Though I could probably combine it with this as well. Though I'm just going to, I really am just going to get that header data at the moment, I think. Close file. File. And of course we'll test. Oh, sure. There's all kinds of things between you and me. So, you know, it could be anything. I hate to think how many servers this may be bouncing between. Not only that, but if you are outside the UK, I think we only have one pipeline to other countries. I think I remember someone telling me that. Whether or not it's true or not is another matter. Right, now one of the reasons I got map data width and layers directly from the file is so I can do this. It's so I can go dim map data. I typed in date there, did you notice? Map.height, map.width, and map.layer. Now we have a multi-dimensional array, so we can simply load this as map, and that way we've got a nice logical data structure going in the background. We've got X, Y, and depth, and that's what I've basically been aiming towards, is organizing it all into an array like that, so we can just pull the data simply by referencing the coordinate of the particular tile the player is in contact with, and then sort of referencing the layer depending on what you want to do. So if it's an impact layer or a collision layer or a damage zone layer or any of the dozen things we discussed before, you have that option of just piling data upon data in a very 3D way. And of course, if you ever want to take this 3D, it's just a matter of adding another dimension. So that basically prepares our data structure. It gets our heading stuff in. That's about it then, isn't it? I need to print the number of layers, don't I? So I need to make sure that's counting correctly. So print map.layers. And what was it working? Yes. So we have 2 layers. We have tile sizes 64, and we have a map dimension of 100 by 100. Tell you what, if it's your local computer, I wonder if there's a background process going on that's stealing the CPU. You might want to do things like check your virus scanner, because that's, obviously it kicks in and starts eating up your cycles. The other thing it could be, of course, is Windows Update. If you've got your Windows updates turned on, it might be downloading those. If you have any BitTorrent software running in the background, that might suddenly have people pulling from you. Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing I'll check for, sort of degradation and speed. Now, it's been a bit of a long session just to get these pieces of data, but now it's been done, I can go, yay! I can just import any TMX file I like in the XML format, and it will pull out that header data. And then we can create lovely arrays, and we've got all our limits set and all that kind of stuff. So now really the next thing to do is go back into that structure and populate our multi-dimensional array with the data from those particular tiles. And after that, once we have our array in place, it's then just a matter of representing that in a 3D way. So 3D, representing it as a 2D map on the screen. And for that, I'll probably just make tiles and then have them all exist on the screen and simply move the player around that way. Now, there are some efficiency things we can do with this. Also want to check out his code down there, because it might be a bit more efficient than mine. I haven't really had time to study it and sort of see what the logic is. But I'll go away and I'll read his example as well. If it's better than mine, then I'll adopt it. But this has been my approach, very much in real time, based on nothing more than a bit of pseudocode, sort of roughing out the rough logic. But the great thing is, I press F5, and that bit is the slowest. So if I get rid of that thing there, the diagnostic line. So where is that print statement? And we'll see how quickly it just loads up. So where did I actually put that? Print, there we go. So we can get rid of that now. Save all and run. Oh, let's do it again. Compile. Okay. Okay. What did I delete earlier? Oh dear. I better do Control Z actually. Okay, so I had a couple of them. Oh yes, that's right, because I did value checks as well, didn't I? Okay, so we don't need either of those now, do we? Speed up the program a bit. There is no other. Okay. Good. Save. It's already loaded up. I'm going to move this over here and launch it, just see how fast it is. Yeah, it's that instant. The other thing to do is check it on my phone, make sure it's not too slow. Now, I'm not actually going through massive amounts of data here, are we? So we're just going to make sure it runs on my Android, which I turned off. Actually, I've got a couple of Android devices here, which might be fun to try it on. I have a Moto G, which has a quad-core processor. I think it's about 1.2 megahertz, so it's not the fastest in the world, but it's a decent mid-range phone. Then I have this Galaxy Fame, which is, I think, it's a single core, 1 gig. Either way, it's incredibly slow. I think I just called someone by accident. So we can see the difference on these phones. And of course, I'll be doing this then throughout all this process. I'll be putting it on my phone every so often just to make sure. So if I load up AGK Player 2, I need to go into the store for this one, don't I? Where's my app store? There it is. 2 phones, woo! Right, so AGK Player, there we go. Oh, we've got AGK Player 1 and 2 on there now, that's good. So that's just installing. Don't know if you can see that. My Windows, well, if I close the windows, I'll lose all my light for the camera, so I won't do that. But first of all, actually, I'm going to do these both at the same time. This is where I need a second camera sort of over my shoulder. So I've got both in my hand now, and I'm just going to broadcast. That was the instant on both of them. There wasn't any delay whatsoever, so that's good. And get rid of that now. Yeah, so that's instant. That runs fast enough. And that's my general rule, to be honest. If it runs fast enough, I'm not going to worry about too much optimization. And yeah, this is one of the slowest phones you get on the market, really. Galaxy Fame. I mean, even the interface is slow. I load an app and I'm sort of sitting there for 30 seconds sometimes, just waiting for it to load. So yeah, I mean, I just loaded the flashlight. It's taken 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 seconds to load up a simple flash app. It's just a torch app that turns the flashlight on. So yeah, if it loads up quick on that, it'll load up quick on anything. Right, so that's done. Yeah, so we got all this code here. It's loading the data up. It's organizing it into a DIM. We've done about 110 line of code there, not including, well, some header stuff as well, so we could reduce that down a bit. There's about 100 lines of code there, and it's working. So if you eat broke, don't fix it, I say. Though again, I will go over his code later. If he's got a more efficient way of doing it, which I'm sure it is, I'll probably adopt it. Again, it depends on how much time I've got. Because I really started doing this this pseudocode about 10 o'clock this morning. I remembered I've got that show going on. I was sort of scribbling on the notepad going, oh. So, yeah. But yeah, that's it then. Now, one thing I will do is I will copy and paste this code and the links into the forum. So you'll get a little episode, whatever, doodah with the links, source code I've written here, so you can bring it in, play it with yourself. If you want to take this source code and modify it, play with it, and give me some feedback on the board, that's great as well. Even if I don't adopt it, different ways of doing things are always worth exploring and learning about. I have my own way of doing things, but as you can see, I'm quite ponderous in the way I go about doing it. So I probably need to improve the way I think in some areas. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's working. It's taking the data out of the file. The next stage is going to be populating that array with the data in a logical XY layer format. Then we will move on to representing the map in 3D, and that's where it's going to get a bit iffy probably, because I've done this before, and whenever I get to that stage, the sprites are always messed up in some way. So we'll find out if that's happened this time or not. Hopefully it hasn't, and hopefully it's just represented properly, and everything will be good. But if not, it's not a big deal. We just work around that problem. That's all part of development, isn't it? You sort of repeat your most common mistakes and you go and fix them again. So, but yeah, that's the basic start of the RPG. Now, one thing I should say or quickly discuss is the idea of where I'm going with this. Legend of Zelda is going to be a good benchmark mixed in with Final Fantasy. So I want a timer-based dice roll combat system. It's going to be menu driven, so it's going to be a case of certain amount of mana, use certain amount. It's going to be basic attack. Attack will not require mana. It will have the lowest damage points. You can add spells or special abilities that will require mana. That will only be so much. You'll also have player stats such as speed of attack, speed of this, and it's all going to be timer based, basically. Very, very much in that way of doing things, and that's going to be it. That's my general plan for this so far. Of course, you'll be walking around the map. Eventually, you'll be loading up sub-maps, so it'll be a case of you locate a dungeon on the map and you go into the dungeon, then you get another map. That's really where I'm going for that, and this will be the entire season 1. So my idea is just to sort of take a game like that and base it, a live tutorial season on that, very much in the same way I've done here, and then publish the source code afterwards, perhaps, and generally sort of find out useful assets, locations of interesting music. If anyone has anything they want to sort of add, perhaps you found a really great sprite map for free as well, or a really good piece of music. I generally tend to go for Kevin MacLeod for most of my music, but if you know other sources, that's great as well. I will probably bring in other things as well. And I almost wonder about making a faster conversion utility that will take all this from the TMX file and convert it into a memblock file, so we can bring it in that way. I wonder about using memblocks to do all this as well, so that's maybe something we play around with in future. Other than that, I'll probably just stick with arrays. They're generally quite reliable. And that's it, really. I will probably do I will sit down, I'll do a proper game layout and sort of lay out exactly what I want to happen in it, the game rules, that kind of thing. And basically, once we walk away with a game to, not necessarily good enough to put on the store, but good enough to modify and then put on the store, if you see what I mean, then I will consider this series a success. Now, as to when and how often I get to these videos, I want to do them on a weekly basis. It depends how much real life gets in the way. But hopefully next Saturday I'll be back here. We'll populate the array with data, and that will be that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with my long moments of what's going on here, and thank you for your support. So thanks a lot, guys.